Welcome to the Going Somewhere podcast, a podcast for anyone who finds themselves in the ambiguous adventure of young adulthood. A season marked by uncertainty, change, love, heartbreak, and a whole lot of big decisions. Sit down with me for some real and raw conversations with some incredible people as we dig into what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus in this beautiful yet complicated season of life. If this podcast helps you in any way, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with friends. Be sure to join the conversation on Instagram by following goingsomewhere.podcast. We're all going somewhere. We might as well go there together. Let's dive into today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to the Going Somewhere podcast. This week, I'm joined by my friend, Tony Meyer. How's it going, Tony?
Hey Steve, good man, how you doing?
Good, so good to have you here.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here.
I know I've thought about doing like more virtual, but I've done them all in person. I'm like, I just can't get myself to doing virtual. So when I found out you were in Fargo, we're doing it.
Well, in person is better.
Absolutely.
We all know that from the last few years.
In every area of our life. But Tony, you and I met a solid 13 years ago or so.
Wow, was it that long?
Yes, you were one of the Chi Alpha pastors when I was a little literally puny freshman. Yeah. And we bonded over our love for softball and sports. I remember playing softball with you that first summer. Dude. You teaching me the ways.
Yeah, right. Well, we both came out of the baseball world, and it's like, how do I hit a softball?
It's too slow.
But I was amazed because you didn't have like these thick arms, and you could just whip that ball, man.
Just like rubber, and just kind of
it was like amazing.
Move it around fast enough.
Yeah, and I was a shortstop, and I was like, dang, he's better than me.
Yet you put me at third for like the entire year. So.
Well, it was kind of like I had one up.
It was a legacy position. You needed to retire at short. Yeah. But I've just appreciated you and your influence in my life. I remember when you first moved to Iowa and we sat down at Starbucks to talk. It was very emotional that you were leaving, but also there's something inspiring about seeing one of my heroes and one of these guys I've looked up to, like stepping out in faith. And that's been honestly something I've looked back at a lot over the course of my last 4 years of kind of looking at my life and saying, God, what is it that you want to do instead of what I think is best or most comfortable? So,
yeah, well, I mean, that was one of the hardest things to do. Like, we never thought about leaving. Kayla, my wife, was like, Tony's never going to leave Fargo. Like all of our friends and family, everybody was here, So
right.
It was like, why would we leave? So I can remember, it was not the greatest to leave. I mean, like feeling leaving everybody. We knew that we were supposed to do that, and it was obvious, but
yeah. Well, let's back up a little bit. You got to tell me about your family. Tell me about your life. What's going on in the world of Tony Meyer?
Yeah. So I've been married to my wife Kayla for almost 13 years now. So I guess we met about the same time.
I think I would have come to school that summer after. I think I missed the Tony Meyer wedding.
Oh, you did?
Tony and Kayla Meyer wedding. That was.
So, yeah, we have 3 kids. Evie, who's 8, Dean, who's just turned 4 this week, and then Andrew, who's 1.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's busy.
Yeah. We just entered the three child scenario too. It's different.
But how old are you?
I'm 31.
31, yeah. I was thinking about that today as Dean was jumping on my back, and I was like, oh, I'm 38, and this is why my back hurts all the time.
It doesn't work anymore.
It's like it's different if I was 28 and I had a 4-year-old on my back. But,
yeah. Well, I feel like there's one more fact that everybody needs to know is that we're forever connected. That we have a forever connection, and that is through Kevin. Why don't you tell us about Kevin?
Kevin's our dog. We got our first year, so he'll be 13.
He'll be 13, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. We've hit the halfway point of ownership.
Yeah.
We've hit the halfway point.
Wow. Yeah, so we got him the first year we were married, Kayla and I, and then Steven would always watch him when we go out of town for us.
I would raid your freezer, man.
Yeah.
Just eat all the frozen pizza.
That was great. Yeah, it was sad, but it was good.
Yeah.
Kevin, we moved into Iowa City, and he just got super depressed, and because we were out in the country, and then he moved into town, and there was this really aggressive, stupid dog that lived behind us, and he just didn't want to do anything. And so I saw Steven one time, and I was like, hey, Or he's like, hey, I'm thinking about getting a dog. I was like, oh, you should just take Kevin. He's like, okay.
I remember it feeling like a joke though at first.
It was a joke,
and then you ran into me at church one time in Bismarck, and you're like, I'm serious. Do you want Kevin?
Well, we thought about, you were like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, okay. And I was like, wait, I can't get rid of Kevin. It's like my guy.
My pride and joy.
Yeah. But then as we talked about it, it was like, oh. And then you guys took him, and he was like, he has 4 walks a day. And he's like,
he did. Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin's not getting that at our house. So.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I know when you've visited before, the kids have gotten to see him. We were just down in Iowa, dropped him off for a few days with you guys. So it's kind of fun. Kevin's got two families now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always funny when we get together because you guys are the owners. He's your dog.
Yes.
But like when Kevin does something, it's like all 4 of us are like, hey.
And he's like, what? He's having like a major crisis every time we're all together. Yeah. But also, I'm kind of like Tony, retrain him. Yeah. We've let him slide a little bit. So I remember, you told us he's a little awkward with other dogs. And so we're like, oh yeah, awkward Kevin. And he is awkward, but then there was the first time that he just like nipped at a dog. We're like, that's not awkward.
No, that's not awkward, yeah.
But that was also new regime, new leadership. Well, but no, so we're forever indebted to you for giving us Kevin. Well, we love him.
We've been thinking about getting another dog, and we worked really hard training him, but I was also very zealous. So it was like, I want to train a dog, but maybe let him enjoy his life a little bit too.
Yeah, that was part of our process, was like, just give him a good second half of life. You're a great owner, but no, I appreciate that. But let's get into the episode a little bit. I know there's so many things that, you've taught me over the years, whether that's preaching, at Chi Alpha services. A lot of those things stick with me, but just through our friendship, it's just been fun. And I think for young adults, which this podcast is obviously geared towards, I think there's things in your story, there's things in your journey that can really resonate. I think, one that I want to really talk about is just your life is a pretty simple. You just love Jesus like wholeheartedly, and there's people that talk about it, and there's people that are about it, and it's so inspiring to me. And so, what was kind of the start of that? Or like, how did you get to that point in your life where this is the main thing? I mean, you can read in the Bible, it's like, seek first and do all these, but what's that been like for you?
Well, I mean, the Lord is so gracious with us, and it's not like we want all these, so many times we look at our relationship with him as just these transactional, just like these moments that come all of a sudden. And there are those all of a sudden moments, but I think more often who we are comes out in the nitty gritty of every single day in journeying with the Lord, and the Lord pulling us closer. And so he gives us grace for the knowledge and experience that we have. So we can't be responsible for something that we don't know or don't have. Yeah. So, but my whole life has kind of been unconventional, the unconventional route, I never really did took the same route as everybody else. So I was 20 when I got saved, and my life was just disaster, an alcoholic and a drug addict and all that stuff. And so when I got saved, it was just stop doing everything that you're doing. These are all things that are just not good things. And now do all these things. And then also I don't have any friends except for my younger brothers. And so they also had lives of their own. And so I'd like follow them around. Well, then I got involved with Chi Alpha, and people there, they were all older than me, and they were so gracious to me at that time. And our Chi Alpha group was just tiny. It was small.
Right.
I just kind of had to start learning from the beginning of like the strength and the power of prayer and the discipline of prayer. So like what I mean by the discipline of prayer, I don't mean like God is impressed with our discipline. He's not. But if you want to have intimacy with the Lord and want to spend time and have these experiences with the Lord, you've got to put yourself in a position to do that and give yourself opportunities to do that. If you're only spending time, if you only visit the Lord once a week and nothing happens in that one time, it's like, well, what are you expecting, Right. But it's the daily going to the Lord. And so much of that is like living and walking by faith, of being like, this is what your word says, and this is who I desire to be. So this is what I'm going to be about. And then in those times, the Lord really honors that and gives you these beautiful nuggets. Like Matthew 6, we all know, but he reveals the secrets of the kingdom in that. Not like the secret gospel that nobody knows about.
Right, yeah.
But the secrets about who he is and about who you are. There's things that the Lord has talked to me about and showed me that I've never shared with anybody. Like those are what my life is built on, those secrets, the building blocks of my life, in the secret place with the Lord. And I look back on that, and that was formed really early because I got out of, treatment. I'm 20 years old. I got my GED because I was kicked out of high school. I was like, oh, well, I guess I got to go to college. So I did like a semester and a half of college, and I was like, nope, this is not for me. I knew I was called to ministry. And so I was like, well, we'll just do that. I interned with Pastor Brad at Northview, and I just kind of started that journey. And then I worked and was Brad's right-hand man for the next 8 years. And involved in ministry. I think the only issue, one of the big issues of my life early on, was that ministry and my identity in the Lord, like my walk with God, were like one and the same. They were synonymous. So I was like 6 months saved, and I was leading worship at Chi Alpha, and I'm on probation still, and I'm still smoking, which you're not going to hell for smoking cigarettes, but
no, but it is one of my favorite stories. I like on stage at Fall Retreat, walk out the back, smoke quick, come back up.
yeah, not ideal. And like if I wouldn't, I mean, Brad had so much grace with me.
Yeah,
more grace than I would have with someone. Like there's no way I would put up with that. And but all along, he saw something in me that I never saw, and maybe nobody else did. But the only issue with that is that my identity and what I did for God started to become enmeshed, and that was a really unhealthy thing, because now I'm building my life on what I'm doing for God, and then what I'm doing for Him becomes more important than who He is to me. And so, again, nobody's all one thing. So we're not like, we're not just how do I say it? Yeah, we're not all just one thing. There's this spectrum of some days I'm like walking with the Lord really strong. Other days it's like I don't pay any attention to Him.
Right.
I think it's consistency over time, which really tells the story. But I realized that that the Lord really had to help, like, uncover the dark parts of my heart that I thought I had dealt with that I didn't. Like, we all have that within us. Like, we all have those places within us of like that we're running from, that we're avoiding. I call it like the dragon in the cave.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
We're like, I don't want to go. It's too painful to go there, or it's too uncomfortable to go there. I don't want to face. It's going to hurt too much. It's going to be too hard to face that. And
was the dragon always like subconscious, or was it like conscious for you? Like
I think both. I think both. I've learned that like I knew it was there. Like, looking back, I knew it was there. So I'm not talking about like this demonic spirit. I'm talking about like the dark parts of who we are that we don't want anyone to see. Right. And like, I knew it was there, but I found like the hardest person in my life to be honest with is me. And that lack of self-awareness can be detrimental to your life. And just the idea of, I'll just pretend it's not there and I'll just go on doing it, living this facade, or just gritting and bearing it and just trying it. But that's exhausting, and you can't do it forever before it all comes crashing down. So
how much of that do you feel like, because this is something that I've, in our journey too, of moving out to New Jersey, there was things unveiled, in my heart that I was unaware of, just from kind of zooming out and not being a part of active church ministry, Chi Alpha ministry. That was just like, I didn't know it was there, but I feel like there was some of like the masks and facades that I think there's a balance of like trying to win favor and please others, and also just deceiving myself and just trying to like make myself feel better, and it wasn't all just like, oh, I want everybody to see me as this awesome guy. Of course. But how much of that was a balance for you, or like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, I think it's both. I mean, you like it when people are like, man, you're awesome, you're amazing. Right. But again, Matthew 6, that's what he says. That's your reward right there. Yep. Great job. You did it. Good job.
even to speak to that even more, I feel like it wasn't ever a negative thing or a bad thing, but our culture that I came up in and that you were in as well was very like pat on the back, like you're amazing, like a lot of it was like the best intentions and just like, oh, your muscles are so big, like you're so great, like you're so awesome at speaking, or you're so awesome at doing this or guitar or whatever. That I think, not that was the reason. I would rather lean on the side of being ultra encouraging to people and help them see who they are in Christ. But that was for me too. Like I was put in leadership positions so quickly, and when I left that season of my life, I realized that there were some things that I had never allowed God to teach me, show me, reveal to me that I needed desperately, and it was interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that's the difference between flattery and encouragement. So flattery is like this, and I'm not saying that's what that was.
No, yeah.
But it is like a more of a, trying to, man, my brain's not working. Your
brain's wonderful. Yeah. Your brain is so awesome, man. Like I love your brain so much.
But it's really playing to your like pride,
Yeah.
Where encouragement, the word encouragement literally means to pour courage into.
Yeah.
So like encouragement should drive you to be the best you as,
Yeah, for sure.
As trite as that sounds, it's like true. But how much of that, I don't know. Like looking back, I'm like, there was times where I saw it and I knew it. Like, I think I always knew those things, like we all always do. Like, there's a parts of me that need to be dealt with. And that's where, like, consistent intimacy with the Lord, like, he reveals those things. I've always said, like, you're either a voluntary participant in God's correction in your life or involuntary if he loves you that much. So, which he does. So I'm like, man, I, for whatever reason, wanted to learn the hard way. And so I did. And so because of God's grace, I did. Because all along the way, the Lord's like, you're going on this path. You're going on this path. You're going down this way. Here's an exit. You should get off. You should get off. You should go this way. And I did the thing that most of us do, which is like, Lord, I got this. I'm just going to I'll start doing this. Once I start doing this, so the answer is the doing, right? It's like, well, if I just do this, then my life will be better.
Wow.
And we go in this cycle. So up here, that's when we're doing everything really great. Well, then things start to slide a little bit. And we don't feel as great about ourselves. We're like, oh no, we're coming down off it. And then we find ourselves at the bottom of the pit and we're like, oh no, like my whole life is meaningless. I can't do anything right. So what's the answer? Well, I got to come up with a plan. And then I start doing those things and then I come back up. And it's this cycle we have to get off. Right. And so because I'm defined by what I do for the Lord. When I do well, then God's happy with me. When I don't do well, God is not happy with me.
So what was the pivot point, or like what was kind of like that took you to that point of realization? And
so we moved to Iowa, and we were planting at Chi Alpha. We brought some staff with us. We had some issues there, and Kayla and I were struggling in marriage. So if you really want to get tested, then say yes to the call of God in your life and where he's leading you. And what I love about him is he still gives us grace to do things, even if maybe he has an idea that this might fail. Because again, your development is more important than your character or your comfort. Your character is more important than your comfort. And God's made margin for all the failings.
Yeah.
But our marriage was struggling. And so at home, Kayla and I were having a really hard time, and it was not an encouraging place. And so here I could go before these students, and they all thought I was awesome.
Yeah.
And so they'd tell me, oh man, it's awesome. They wanted to know what I had to say. And then I'd go home and I'd be like, that was not the environment at home. But that's also not the environment that I cultivated. I had stopped pursuing my wife's heart. I had stopped really pursuing our relationship because ministry had become the idol in my life. And the idol can become all sorts of things.
Right.
Your career, your kids, whatever, your hobbies can become idols. So I got to a place where I was completely alone. Our staff, had to leave. And I remember being just alone in my office and feeling alone. My brother, Drew, who had always been a like one that I shared everything with, I felt like I couldn't even talk to him anymore. And if you don't feel like there's anyone you can talk to about, you're in trouble, you know? And you don't, not because they won't listen, but because there's pride in you that's like, I have to just keep this going, suffer in silence by myself. And so it got to the point where, you know, between Kayla and I, we're like, hey, this is either this marriage is not gonna work, or we got to do something else, which meant requiring us, you know, resigning our ministry role and spending an entire year just like trying to get our marriage back. And that season of my life was like so difficult and humiliating and revealing. It's like that feeling in the morning you're cozy in your bed and you have to get out of bed, but you don't want to get out of bed. And you know the time's coming, you got to get out of bed. You're already running late. And finally, then your mom comes in and rips the covers off, and you just feel like so exposed, so naked. It was like who I was exposed. Like those deep parts that I was trying to hide for so long were finally exposed, and there was nothing I could do about it except for either run away from it or deal with it. And I've known people that spend the rest of their life running away from it, and they're miserable. But the Lord empowered me through his grace to like really face that stuff. There was one morning I was spending time with the Lord, and I was so mad at him. And I remember in my basement, I'm all alone, and I'm just yelling at the Lord. Like, how could this all happen? This wasn't the plan. You know, we left North Dakota, like these champions of the faith going for it, you know, and then it's all come crashing down. This wasn't the plan, God. What happened? But to be honest, I wasn't mad about that. What I was really mad about was that I wasn't who I thought I was. And none of us like that. And so I remember screaming, God, who am I? I don't have any idea who I am. I don't have any idea who I am. I'm 31 years old. I have no idea who I am. Who am I, God? Who am I? And I remember I just got it all out, and I just sat there and I waited, and I sat in silence, and all of a sudden I heard the Lord speak, and he just said one word, which was the most annoying word he could have spoken in that moment, because he just said son. And I was like, God, I know. I know. Like, I preached it. I know all the scripture. I get it. I know. I'm asking you about who I am. Like, I want to know who I am. What I was really asking, what I thought I wanted to know was like, tell me what to do, God. Like, what am I going to do with my life now?
Right.
What am I all about? And so, but instead the Lord's like, let me tell you who you are. And again, he said, son. And so I sat there and thought about it, and all of a sudden the Lord just began to reveal in my heart, like, not husband Tony, not pastor Tony, not friend Tony, not father Tony, just son. And it was like, okay, that simple place of just being a son before him, that the God of the universe looks at me, this guy who's a complete mess, who's failed in all areas. And it's like, you are my son. And that's all I want you to be. It was like this place of peace and rest of like, and there's no striving in that place. Like God's not, our flesh loves to perform. Our flesh loves to strive. And the Lord just wants us to yield. And so I just did. It was like almost like a second salvation for me of like just yielding to God. Like, all right, you can have it all, Lord. You can have it all. And so then the Lord said, I want to start defining. I want you to know who you are. And so if you ever want to know God, if you ever want the Lord to speak to you, he always has something to say about two things. Ask him, God, show me who you are, and he'll tell you. And two, God, who am I to you? So I began to do that, and the Lord began to this is who you are. And I began to write those things down. And so then who I was more important than what I did. And then it was out of the becoming came the doing.
Right.
Like who Lord made me to be, you know. And I mean, really, that's what we're supposed to do as parents. Like your primary role as a parent is to help your kids experience and know who God has made them to be. That's my role. It's not to tell them. necessarily. It's to affirm the things that God has already written about them and help discover those things. And so here I am in my 30s. It's like I don't have a job. My wife is working. I'm at home. My daughter's in daycare. It's like, so I just spend hours with the Lord, and He's beginning to reform my life and build it. And so out of that came four things. It was like, Lord, I need help. So what do I do now then? Mm-hmm. And so it was, okay, well, the first thing is like, I just want to know the Lord more today. All right, I think I can do that. I don't need to know, all the secrets of Revelation today.
Right.
Of the book of Revelation. I don't need to know all that today. I just need to know a little bit more about Him, and He wants to show me. The second thing is, I want my wife's going to know that I love her beyond a shadow of a doubt, because there was many days that she wouldn't have been able. You could ask her. She said, I don't know. I think He does. I hope He does, but right. I don't know. And I was like, there's not a day that's going to pass that like that again. And the third was the same with my kids. I didn't want my kids to ever think there was like the call of my life was more important to them. And then the fourth was, I'm going to be an influence. And so that time I was working at a car repair shop, and every day I'd sit out in the parking lot. I'm like, this is not fun. No one wants to be here. The customers don't want to be here. The people working here don't want to be here. I was like, I'm going to be an influence. I'm going to be an influence. I'm going to be an influence. And every day I went in there, I sit in my car and give myself a pep talk. I'm going to be an influence today. I'm going to be an influence today.
Yeah.
And I was.
Yeah.
And I was. It was like I was a shining light. I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back, but if you have even just a differing attitude, like that one that's not just negative and backbiting and gossipy and complaining, you stick out like a sore thumb. They called me something that I've never been called in my whole life, which is happy-go-lucky. Kayla would like laugh at that.
Yeah.
Happy-go-lucky. It's like, that's not me.
Right.
But yeah, so I could
Wow.
keep going, but
no, that's so good. I mean, I just feel like the cultural, norm too is do something significant so you can be somebody significant. Do something. Once you do something great, then you'll be known as this or that. And like in the kingdom of God, it is the opposite. Even Matthew 7 or Matthew 3, Jesus is baptized and comes out of the water. And for some reason, that simplicity of like God's message to Jesus is something that stands out to me. Like, this is my son whom I love, with him I'm well pleased. And the significance of Him not performing a miracle, Him not calling disciples to follow Him, Him not doing anything to really set the groundwork, that we're standing on. And God was already pleased. God was already claiming, that His sonship. And I just think for me, that's always been something I want to like cling to too. Like, God's pleased with me before I get out of bed, before I do the first right thing for the day. Like, God's already pleased with me. He already loves me. He already calls me son. And just to remember that over and over and over again. I just feel like, for listeners too, like where do you get your value from? Like, where do you get the value of your life? Like, I'm worth something because of what? And sometimes that answer can be really revealing. Like, I similarly was ministry, for a long period of time. For me, it was kind of that takeaway of I don't have that. It was even before I moved. It was in that period of time of contemplating moving that I realized, like, who am I if I don't have these students to pour into? And what is ministry if I don't have students that are texting me out throughout the week? Hey, can we get coffee? Can we get coffee? It was just like, ministry and life with Jesus is going to have to be an overflow of who I am. And that was just kind of like the dawning, like, oh, like, shouldn't that always be the case? That shouldn't be like at this turning point for me that I'm thinking about. Yeah, the things I do for God should be the overflow. And I've preached messages. You've preached messages on that. But to actually live that sometimes, unfortunately, takes a hard thing and a challenging season.
And you never graduate from it. Like, we have this addiction to the next thing and like the better thing. I mean, that's why we're looking on our phones all the time. It's like this addiction to there's something great that's coming that I'm going to miss.
Yeah.
Instead of, and it's not being like complacent and just like, this is as good as it gets, but like not so quickly trying to graduate from the first things.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a difference between complacency and contentment too, of like knowing who I am and where I'm at. I think just even at a career stage now where, I mean, one, we put so much stake in career of like our identity and worth, but also, like coming to a point in a career where you don't really have ambitions for anything next is a freeing thing.
Oh,
it's just
totally.
like, I'm excited for what God's going to do in whatever season, whatever vehicle is there. But yeah, like you said, there's never like a graduation point where it's like, I've achieved it and now it's on to the next. But you just said something like that we can graduate from the first things. And I know that's been like a core message from your heart for years just the first thing. And remember the first thing, from Revelation too. But what does that look like in your life today? Like, what does it look like for you and Kayla? You kind of laid out those 4 things. This is who these priorities or these main things.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you in keeping the main thing and
your
marriage, kids?
Paul talks about like self-ambition, like selfish ambition, which in ministry circles, somebody told me recently, if you had a staff member that broke one of the 10 commandments, they'd be fired, right? But the Sabbath, breaking the Sabbath,
right,
you're lauded for it. You're like,
right.
Man, you're a really hard worker.
Yeah.
Not that it's law that we take Sabbath, but like there's a principle in God's ways of, hey, this is best and what's best for you. I know how I've made you.
Yeah, but if I steal or if I
you cheat on your wife, right?
Yeah,
exactly. But so I found like ambition, like that was something the Lord needed to crucify in my life, and I've come to like really relate to what Paul says. It says, I've decided to know nothing except for Christ and in him crucified. And I'm like, this is Paul, the chief theologian of all theologians and scholars. And that's what he decides to know. It's like, you don't leave that place. When I teach my daughter and my sons about what it is to walk with the Lord, I mean, that's where I start. And I don't think that's like the beginning and the end and everywhere in between. And it doesn't mean that God doesn't show you and teach you more stuff. But so I've found in my life, okay, I need to crucify that ambition in my life of trying to be something. I had a friend recently, we were talking, and he said, God showed me recently that I have this need to be great. He's like, I want to be great. And so what I said is, the next obvious question is, great for who or for what?
Right.
Even this desire to be great for the Lord, there might be some selfish ambition in there. Like this performance. I need to show God that I'm the best disciple he's ever going to have. Right? And that's what we read in the Gospels.
Yeah.
I'm the best disciple. No,
I want to be at his right hand.
And it's like, that's not impressive to the Lord.
Yeah.
So I think the place that I've lived in is like, and I shared this with my church recently, is like, what pleases him? What is God impressed with? What does he marvel at? Because it's not the things that we marvel at. He's not impressed with your gifts. He's not impressed with your anointing. He's not impressed with your call. Those are all things that he gave you.
Right.
So what is he impressed with? Well, if you look in Scripture, we see in Matthew 8, he marvels at the centurion's faith. Like, I would love the Lord to see my faith and be like, holy cow, stop heaven, everybody what they're doing, and look at that faith.
Yeah.
I've not seen faith like that in all of Israel or all the world. I've not seen faith like that. Like that. That's something that he can't do for you. You have to do that. A pure heart before him. God's pleased with a pure heart, like pure motives. Motives matter to him. Faithfulness and stewardship, he's impressed with. A sacrifice of worship. Like when you've made a decision, like, I'm going to worship and declare the truth of who God is, despite how I feel, despite my circumstances, despite what everybody else is saying about me. Like, this is what it is. And I believe it's in those moments like are those high praises that we in a church talking a lot about, those high praises, like those things that, like I said, like haven't stopped since, like, listen to those people. Listen, they're offering me something costly.
Yeah. What's interesting too is that in Revelation it talks about, how they take their crowns and the rewards that they're given for their what they did on earth, and then they give them back. Like, true worshipers, that's what we want to do. We want to give it back to God. Like, and that's an incredible picture for me too, is like, because I think it's easy. I think when you just kind of live within the culture, you obviously are affected by it, but it's, kind of the idea of Romans, where it's, don't conform to the pattern of the world, but be transformed. And I think there's that always, like, even doing the podcast, like there's like this desire of, like, when we started it, when we tried to get off the ground, is I feel like there's a gap in what's available for young adults that are post-college, that kind of this wandering season of life. And I want to invite people into that. But then there's always this pull of, like, well, if I do it better, maybe more people listen, or, like, and it's, what can I get out of it? And I have to put that to bed, like, all the time, and put that to death. Like, anytime you do anything that's in front of people, and even the things that are done when nobody's looking too, like, it's the same thing. And I remember it was like a few months ago, and I was preaching at Northview, and this was the first time I'd been preaching since I'd been back. And I remember, like, I was doing some sermon prep, and then I was trying to rephrase, like, a sentence, and, like, kind of a thought popped to my mind of, like, why are you trying to, like, make the sentence so perfect? And in my mind, it was literally because I thought maybe it was something that was quotable, or maybe it was something that would, and it wasn't necessarily anything other than just self-serving, and and it was, for one, it was like, these are the things that I wasn't aware of before. So progress, God is making his grace is revealing that he's helping me grow. But I think it's just something, when I'm 75, it's the constant dying to myself, that is required for us to live the life that God desires us to live. But it's not always easy.
No, it's not. Like, that childlikeness, like, there is this paradox in the kingdom of, like, growing in maturity with God on this trajectory, and also growing in childlikeness. Like, when I'm raising my kids, I don't want them to be kids forever. I don't have to be 25 years old and still living at home, and I have to change their diapers, and and feed them all their meals and make sure they brush their teeth. That would be like, they'd be disabled. There'd be something wrong, right? Yep. I want them to grow in independence, but as we walk the Lord, we grow in more dependence as we walk in maturity, and also childlikeness. We had this lady in our church. She is just the greatest. I feel like I talk about her almost every day. Her name is Miss Connie. She's one of the elders at our church. She's in her 70s. She's had a very difficult life, but she has a faith that is so pure and so pleasing to God. And her childlikeness, like, I don't even know how many times she's probably read the Bible. She spends out, so much time with the Lord every day. But she'll come, she'll talk. She's like, today I was just reading John 3:16, and it was like, wow, God loved me so much. And I'm like, what? John 3, like, she has just grown so much in childlikeness that even things she's read 100 times, and it's real. It's not like this thing that she's putting on for people. It's like, God, the love of God is continually revealed in a deeper way when you grow in that childlikeness. Like, wow, God is so great. He sent his son to die for me. Like, really? Okay, wow. And it's challenging to me. Like you said, when I'm 75 or 80 at the end of my life, so many of the things that I care about and have spent so much time don't matter. Like, when older people are like, yeah, I just kind of say whatever I want now. I'm done. I don't really care. Like, obviously, I'm not going to be like this crotchety old jerk, but when the end is coming closer, that end point is closer, who you are, or like the things that you really value, are clear. Mm-hmm. And they're usually pretty small. Like, that list is pretty small. So for us, it's like, your values, like what makes you is what's going to drive your life. If you say, this is what I value, like for me, if I said, I value working out, so I don't work out. So if I could say all day long, I value working out, and be like, oh, wow, Tony's one of the chief values of his life is exercise and health. And yet I never work out. It's like, okay, I could say that all day long, but what I really value is laid to bear every day in what I do.
Right.
So a lot of us live in this place of, this is what I value and this is what I do. And so for us, our values really drive who we are, what we do, what we say yes to, what we say no to. I mean, have you guys found that to be true?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, we've been intentional in that, but then I've had a practice for a number of years now where I've, at the end of each year, and sometimes even at the halfway point, like around our anniversary, it's May 23rd, so I just take our like values and the things that we've written out as like, these are the most important. And then I actually like look at it and say, is this how my actions are defining it? Cause it's so true. Like when one of our values, you know, is Jesus centered, is like my top value for me and my family. And there's so many things that our life is not centered on that when it comes to the activity of our life. Yeah. The activity of our life can drift into church even, like it's a good thing. And so I think, 100%. Like, I mean, where, you know, you can talk about it financially or whatever, but where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And like what you find to be most important, one is revealed through your actions, but two is a great mirror to your heart. And I just think like we've had these conversations coming into our kids being at like sports age and being at like that activity driven age of like, what's that going to look like for our family? Because we have a different value system that, and it's not like we are like, our kids are going to be at church 6 nights a week because, you know, but it's more like family dinner is important to us. Yeah. Right now we're in a season where we've kind of said like at least 6 nights of the week, we want to have dinner at our table or on a picnic, you know, bench or on on our deck or wherever as a family of 5. And then same with bedtime for me, like that's one thing that I try not to give up as often as I can. We're strategic about like, all right, you have a girls' night tonight, I'll have a guys' night tonight, and then we have our date night. But bedtime for us is just one of those things that's when we pray with our kids. That's when they're most receptive to just sitting in silence with us and cuddling and telling each other we love each other. And so I think a lot of those things come out of our values. And I would say the one that we have a hard time with is marriage too. It's just like we have a great marriage, but at the same time with kids and with church, like all these amazing things happening in our friends, like that's the one, especially with 3 young kids, that can sometimes get pushed to the side of it. Like at least that intentional, just me and you sharing our hearts, doing fun things. And so that's something that we think about as well.
Yeah. I mean, and every season looks different. I mean, you're in the throes of it.
Right? We are in the thick of it, man.
Which it's good, but you know, having grace with yourself. There's a difference between making excuses for yourself and having grace with yourself. Yeah. Like understanding the nature of the season. It's like if you want to have a date night once a week, that might be possible, but with 3 really little kids, it's just going to be hard.
Yeah, nobody wants to babysit a 3-week-old, you know.
Exactly.
But also, like we took Rowan on a date on our anniversary. Like our anniversary was on a date with Rowan. Yeah. And another thing for us and is just like right now Taylor gets up in the middle of the night to feed the baby, and I do not get up every time, you know, but there's times where I just get up out of solidarity, and it's just like time that we're just both dead tired, like looking at each other, you know, like not even doing anything. But it's just those acts of love that from season to season you can pursue, even when it, like you said, the excuse, like, it's just hard right now. It's not going to work, you know, but it's a difficult part.
Finding those times to connect on a deep level are important. And like, being intentional about it speaks volumes, even if it's not frequent. Like even if you're like in 2 weeks we're doing it, like we have it planned, we have it in there, like that even speaks to the world.
Well, just like even stopping to make eye contact, like in the midst of it, or like when I come home from work, the kids are obviously like, Dad, you know, running up to me, but it's like it takes effort and intentionality to walk up to Taylor and look her in the eyes and ask her how her day was, and
absolutely
not push, like literally like, get back, you savages. But like, you know, 1 second Kidsley Daddy's gonna talk to Mom for a few minutes, you know, and it's hopefully too showing the kids like this is an important relationship. This is the important human relationship that I have. Yeah. But as we kind of wrap up, you know, I feel like what's your encouragement to the young adult listening when it comes to the stack of priorities, the stack of ambitions, the stack of things that matter and really do matter, and how to pursue Jesus at the center of that and most, you know?
Sure. Well, like college is a beautiful time because it's so much of your formation happens in that time, but a lot of it's centered around like what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah. When
I think college is best spent figuring out like who you are as a person. And I think that the best version of that is the Christ-centered, cross-centered version where the Lord is speaking that over you. But I think people leave college with this idea of like, this, okay, I've got some solid footing, and then realize, oh, maybe I don't. And you find yourself in this place of the testing. And in the testing, the chaff gets burned up, and what's solid it stays. And sometimes what we thought was solid is chaff, and that's a scary place to be. And so the beautiful thing is that God is like, he's so gracious with us, and his grace empowers you to live the way that he's called you to. So I come back to this place of intimacy with the Lord every single day, and it's not checking the boxes. It's not just reading 3 chapters and calling it good. It's like when you go to the scripture, you're reading the word and the word's reading you. Like, you're not there to check a box. You're there because you're there to meet with Jesus. When you go to the place of prayer, you're meeting with Jesus. And if you treat it with this sacred sense, the Lord will honor that. And then out of that place, that secret place, the Lord really like informs your values. Kids will test whether you know your values or not. Why do we do this? And my son, Dean, right now is always, why? And so we say in our family, like, Meyers work hard, so we're going to clean up. Meyers, that's what Meyers do. Meyers always keep their word. So we talk in terms of values rather than just do it. Just do it. Yeah, Meyers love Jesus, and so Meyers love God's people, so we go to church. That's a priority in our week. We're not going to go to sports things on Sundays. We're not going to sports things on Wednesdays. Church is a priority over those things. And so knowing your values. So if you don't, like, I think a lot of people say, oh yeah, I kind of know what I'm all about. If I were to ask you to write them down, you could maybe write some things, and then I'd say, how, like, are these things that you'd be willing to like die for, you know?
Right.
Not a lot of people could maybe, or not even maybe die for, that's pretty extreme, but like, are these values something that you'd be able to defend?
Yeah.
If I were to start to poke holes in them. And because if they're not, then you don't really believe them. Maybe it's just something you heard somebody else say. So like I tell people, who are you? What type of person do you want to be? What type of father do you want to be? What type of mother do you want to be? What type of husband do you want to be? What type of wife do you want to be? Like, who are you? And then out of those things, your values are formed. And then your values help guide like who you are and what you do. And so if I have a value for like purity in my heart, then I'm going to say no to certain things that maybe my friends are doing, or watching certain things, or doing certain things that everybody else is doing, because I want to keep my heart pure before the Lord, whatever those values are.
Right.
I tell people to do that. And like, there's a reason in Psalm 139 at the end of the Psalm, it says, search me and know my heart. See if there's any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way of the everlasting. There's a reason that's such a popular prayer, because that place of a heart of repentance before the Lord that says, God, there's no part of me that's hidden to you. You can look at it all. Any part is open to your inspection. Like, I want to know if there's weak areas in my life, and I want to live wholeheartedly for you. And that's not a place of legalism. That's a place of just devotion before God, in the same way you do with a spouse.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm keeping these parts back from you. That's like half-hearted love, you know?
Right.
So anyway, I could talk a lot longer.
No, it's so good. Stuff. No, I just appreciate you, appreciate your heart, appreciate, your willingness to share with us today. And,
of course.
Is there anything in conclusion that you'd want to share on the podcast? You said a lot of good things. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think, I know this is a podcast for young adults, maybe in new seasons. You need to be around people who love Jesus, and who are going to challenge you and push you. And you can't do it by yourself, and you'll struggle. And I know that there's places that people go for jobs where there's not like a community there. Like, and if that's not it, then be a catalyst for it. Like, you have to be intentional, and you have to be all in with the Lord.
For sure.
Sorry, I could say a lot more, but
no, I appreciate it. We'll just leave it, so that we can do it again down the road here.
Part 2. Yeah.
Dude, love you. Appreciate you so much.
You,
love your family. Your daughter is one of the funniest little kids I've ever met in my life.
She's hilarious.
She cracks me up. She's got the best jokes. Like, they are timing and everything.
She is hilarious.
Also, I failed to mention earlier, but one of our podcasts, you can just talk about meat.
There we go. Just meat.
Yeah. This is for you out there that are looking to cook a good meat.
Yeah.
But no, I love you. Appreciate you so much. Thanks for
you, man.
The example you set, just being on the podcast and be my friend.
Yeah, hopefully it was helpful. So
we'll then decide.
We'll see.
No, thanks for listening. We'll see you again real soon on the Going Somewhere podcast. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. It was an honor to have Tony on with me today. I just appreciate his vulnerability. I appreciate his willingness to open up about his story, his journey, of how God has really reshaped him and brought him to a place of brokenness, or through a place of brokenness has brought him to a place of wholeness. And he talked so much about the grace of God and just how God's grace has reached into his life time and time again, and how when our identity is rooted in Jesus, when intimacy with Jesus is our priority, everything flows out of it. Our doing flows out of our being when we're with Jesus. And I think that's the message today. That's the takeaway for me today anyways, is I want to be with Jesus. I want to be known for somebody who's intimate with him, that I wouldn't strive to do great things for him, but I would be with God, and that I would allow him to shape my life and do what he desires through my life. So what is something that you took away from this episode? What are your values in? What are your priorities? What is first and most in your life? And is it Jesus? I think those are the honest questions. And like Tony said, it doesn't have to get to the place where it's all stripped away, where we hit rock bottom, for us to understand that we can actually learn from his story and learn from the stories of many others, and realize that God desires to do this in our life today. So let's make that our commitment. Let's make that our hearts, that we would just evaluate today, what are we placing our value in? What are we placing our priorities? What's most important to us? And allow God to do the uprooting now, to remove the masks that we're wearing as a facade in our life. So let this be a challenge to you. Let this be an encouragement to you. Let's live with purpose and intentionality in our everyday life. I appreciate all of you, and just know that I'm praying for you. This podcast is a place that we can belong together, that we can grow together and step in to all that God has for us. So once again, thanks for listening. But also, if you haven't already, subscribe. Make sure that you stay up to date with all the episodes, like it, leave a review and a rating, and share it with a friend. I know that this has impacted many people, and I hope that it can impact many, many more. So I appreciate all of you for being along with us for the ride. And also shout out to Northview Church for creating a space for us to host this podcast, and for the heart just to love on young adults and create a community for young adults. If you're ever in Fargo, check it out. Also online at northview.life. We'll see you again real soon.